Let's talk about this new option which has been reported today by PTI, which is a windfall tax on ONGC. To speak more on this option and its impact, I'm joined now by former ONGC Chairman and Managing Director RS Sharma, as well as former Finance Secretary S Narayan. A very warm welcome to both of you, gentlemen, and thank you for speaking with us. Mr. Sharma, I want to ask you first about what impact this would really have on ONGC. Let's begin with that. Would it be something which would impact the company in the medium to long term? We, of course, saw the stock price reacting today as well.
I feel in case government goes ahead with this kind of step, this will be very much a retrograde step. This government has gone time and again to say that we are having the reforms agenda, we are deregulating the sector, and we are inviting more international investment in this sector. I feel having made those kind of announcements, now going ahead and levying this sort of, it will be levied, not be tax. Tax is levied, windfall tax is levied on the after-tax profits of the companies. This will be, you can give the nomenclature, can be windfall levy. Thing is, and that gets levied not only on ONGC, it will be on all the oil producers who are getting international parity price in India. That is ONGC, Oil India, KN India. So these are the three entities who are, and marginally Reliance also. These are the entities who will be subjected to these levies. So one is that there are a lot of issues. There are governance issues, and there are logical issues, and issue of the rationale, whether that should be done. Thing is, when these crude prices were falling, all the windfall gains were made by the government in terms of that they kept on increasing the excise duty time and again. 9 doses were done, more than 11 rupees per liter on petrol and more than 13 rupees a liter on diesel. They got collected in various doses of the rises in a 1.5 year period. And every time government kept on saying, if in case the crude prices rise again, they will give the relief for the excise duties. Now the government says that they are not in a position to give the relief because based on those revenues, government has launched various ambitious social welfare schemes, infrastructure projects. Well taken. It's not the government has pocketed the money. They are using it for a legitimate and welfare programs. I'm not doubting that. But the issue comes that should they do it? What signal it will send to international investor community when this recent open acreage licensing policy is launched? First time it has happened, not a single overseas foreign company came for participating in this. Okay. Because they keep on accusing that there's a fiscal stability is not here. Government goes back on it words time and again. So it's an issue of the credibility also. So personally, I feel that should not be done. And in case it is to be done, then I say poverty has to be shared by everyone, all stakeholders, upstream, downstream, state government, central government, how that mechanism will be done. So I'm sure policymakers will be taking a call.
It's a good point. It can't just be ONGC bearing the brunt. But then the big question is that how much of a difference it will make. And I'll come to S Narayan on that point. That effectively, if this windfall cess, so to speak, is put in ONGC's lap, how much of a difference would it make at the petrol pump? Because that is the end aim.
I think we are revisiting a path which has been traveled several times before. I do recall that in the years 2000 to 2003, 2004, ONGC was asked to bear some of the burden of the increasing oil prices. I also recall that just before the election in 2004, for nearly 8 to 9 months, the petrol prices were frozen. And it was only after 2006, 2007 that gradually petrol prices were allowed to adjust. And today, petrol prices at the pump level are higher than when the oil was at $140, $120, which is absurd, which is absolutely absurd. for ONGC, and several methods have been adopted in the past. One is changing ad valorem excise duty to a fixed excise duty, which means that as oil price, as the Brent oil increases, the excise duty burden will not increase. There is also earlier tried was why do you want to change prices every day? Everyday prices, it used to be, there was a time when they used to be changed once in a fortnight, once in a week. That gives a little bit of a cushion for us to take care of the short-term volatility. And really to say that ONGC would be very badly hit by a lack of interest in exploration, I think this is a little bit far-fetched, because we have not seen foreign companies coming in to invest in exploration here for the last so many years. And that is not because of prices alone. Even prices were low, they didn't come. When prices are high, they didn't come. And ONGC's own capital exploration program is well funded by the kind of reserves and surplus that it always has. So I see nothing wrong in ONGC being asked to bear part of the burden. Earlier, they were giving huge dividends to the government. The rate of dividend will go down a little, and a little bit will be absorbed by them. So I do think that we are not rediscovering the wheel. Every step that is being talked about has been tried, has been used, and has been actually implemented in the past. So the history is available to us.
Is it a good thing to rediscover the wheel? Then is the next plausible question. Of course, to opposing views coming in there.
Most certainly, we must understand that India of 2018 is not India of 2004. For example, just to take a small example, look at the number of self-employed taxi drivers after all this Ola and Uber have come in. In the city of Chennai, where earlier there are 20,000, 25,000 taxis, and they are all paying their EMIs out of the run that they do on a daily basis. And if you suddenly start increasing prices for them, actually you're driving them below the poverty line.
No, absolutely. I just want to come to the point, sir, if I may, of how much impact this is going to effectively make and how much is going to help. And Kirit Parekh said on Bloomberg Quint today.
Impact on what? Impact.
If I may just put this one point out before getting your response, sir. He says that ONGC's oil production is 20% of the country's consumption. So if you're going to put a tax of even 5 rupee a litre on ONGC, it would only amount to 1 rupee difference in price on the consumer end. Clearly, just this one move will not be enough.
No, I am not going into the numbers. I am talking about a package of options that government has. We are talking of a single step of ONGC. There are other steps as well. As I said, going over from a daily to a fortnightly one, allowing the public sector companies to cushion the price for a while, converting the ad valorem duty into a fixed excise duty, then also talking to the states about reducing duties altogether. So just to look at one item and say 1 rupee is not enough, I think it's not looking at all the other options which are already available.
I just want to ask Mr. Sharma about a point that former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram made recently on Twitter, where he says that it is possible to cut up to 25 rupees per litre, but the government will not. They will cheat the people by cutting prices by 1 or 2 rupees per litre. Perhaps we will see some move in the next few days which will affect a 1 or 2 rupee per litre change. But Mr. Sharma, do you think there is any feasibility in a 25 rupee per litre cut? Is there that much cushion for the government?
Hope you are not dragging me into any political debate.
No, there's no politician here.
I don't know.
I'm just asking you if that's a feasible number.
No, 25 rupees, something that is a ridiculous number. Where from they will bring that 25 rupees? Yeah, only way is that, all that 13 times that excise duty relief was given, 13 rupees was the excise duty hike was done for the diesel, and 11 rupees were done by for the petrol. So if they can be rolled back, that is I feel far-fetched. Having government having taken that decision, having used the money for various the budgetary schemes, So that's why they are finding it difficult. But I would say in terms of the strategic, the decision taken by the government, having taken this sort of hot money into their treasury and now saying they don't have anything left, what they should have done at that point of time when this crude prices were falling down. So instead of taking that excise duty, they could have created a corpus and used that corpus now as a buffer to give relief to the consumers. So that would have been the logical thing. Time and again, that is being talked about, that the country needs to create a national wealth fund or this for these kind of scheme, a separate corpus to be done. They all remain a paper talk. So ultimately, a situation is come. The government says they are not in a position to cut down their revenues.
Yep, they've spent it all.
The issue, one more angle, just one more angle I would like to mention, because this levy on this crude oil and petroleum products, this translates to annually about more than 4 lakh crore for the central and states put together. This is the most convenient mode of collecting the taxes. The administrative regulatory mechanism does not need only this order. Based on that, these companies, they collect the money from the the consumers and they deposit in government treasury. So it's a matter of convenience also for the government. There is no revenue leakage. That's why time and again they find it convenient to levy taxes in this sector. But in the process, I feel they are doing a long-term harm to the sector.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to veterans over there, RS Sharma and S Narayan, explaining what options the government could look at and whether the ONGC windfall cess option is a good one or not.